Chicken Man, and today me and my father are gonna be upgrading my Traxxas / 4x4 chassis so that way it doesn't flip over.
I'm gonna put the LCG on it because this thing spends more time upside down with this guy behind the wheel than it does on its tires.
Yeah, a lot of times that I have been playing with this, it has been flipping over, and miraculously it has never broken. So let's get on to the upgrading.
It's like a lot of pieces, and hopefully it won't be as bad as it looks. We decided not to watch any videos, before we started doing this. We wanted to see if we could just do it on our own without any help from other people, because we understand that there's a lot of videos out there that show how to do this, but we want to try it on our own and see how difficult it is. So here's the LCG chassis, all the parts for the /4x4, and let's start building this thing.
Okay. Let's start building. Okay, so let's begin taking apart the original Traxxas /body.
We started here with the Nerf bars. Had a hard time figuring out that screws come off, they just snap up. Take off the other side. Sorry about the focus there, I changed it to manual a little bit later on in the video. Now we're starting to work on the front part of the slash.
Taking both wheels, the control arms, all that stuff off to start off the taking apart process.
Here we're going to take the servo arm off of the servo horn. Just one screw in the middle. Now we're unscrewing we unscrewed the front two lower screws there for the front bulkhead assembly. Dropped that off pretty easily. Now we're going to start taking off the rear section.
We're taking off the rear section. First gotta take off the bumper first. Oh.
Now we're going to remove the rear section, the differential assembly, which is housed in that whole housing with the 2 screws on the top and the 3 screws on the bottom.
Okay guys, we're done with the front and the back. So now we're gonna take apart the body. Okay, so now we are gonna be taking apart the differential assembly and also the motor.
The motor is held on to the motor plate, but that motor plate bolts to that rear, I don't know what you call it, a pinion carrier. But a few screws on the top there. Now here.
Okay, now we have to take off. Now we're heading on over to the speed control. Simple 3 screws. Now we're gonna take off the servo.
Held on by 4 screws.
Simple small screws.
Everything is a simple small screw on this. Simple small screws that get lost everywhere. Throw that off to the side, and now we're heading towards the receiver cover for the transmitter receiver. Top cover is held on by 2 screws. The receiver is just held on by double-sided tape. You don't see here, I was taking it apart, but just get a plier or a screwdriver and lightly pry up on the receiver. It'll come off, just stuck on there. There's the rear differential or pinion gear comes out of the back, and there's a piece on here that's important. This cover comes off, which is a bearing that's inside there that you can see kind of right there. We'll get back to that a little bit later on. There's a whole assembly, out it comes.
Okay everyone, now we are done with taking apart the whole entire body over here. I'm sorry to say, but goodbye my friend. You have been a lot of help to me.
Now we are starting with the build.
Yeah, so first things first.
We're going to put that receiver box in, just held on by 2 screws right through the middle there, right into the chassis.
But we're thinking about skipping that to last. Just gonna put the body over. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about.
Yeah, here we're putting the double-sided tape, the foam tape that comes with the new receiver box, onto the receiver box. Now we're just bolting down the cover with nothing inside, just to keep it out of the way for now. Again, we're just putting it on just to
Keep till later.
And to be honest with you, we really had no idea what steps we were supposed to go in. So after putting this on, we're like, okay, well, we don't need to come back to this for a while. Again, there are no instructions with this, just one picture of parts blown apart. Here's the servo, the steering servo. Put that on. 4 screws hold it on.
So yeah, now we're gonna install the speed control.
Nope, that's the servo, but it does control the speed of the steering. So
I technically got it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I know some people say don't use power screwdriver on these because it's plastic, you'll strip it out, but there's a torque setting on ours. We keep it pretty low to where any type of resistance in it, it'll stop.
The hard part, mostly about installing and reinstalling, is about we had to use the old screws. Now, some of the old screws, they had like a whole bunch of dirt in them, so it would take like a minute or two to take all the dirt out of it.
Yeah, we used a small pick to scrape the dirt out, especially the ones on the bottom. They just, like concrete, get stuck in there, caked in there. So we saved you the torture of watching us scrape out all the screws, all the dirt out of the screws, especially these bottom ones here. Here we're taking apart the bumper and the front differential, as well as the control arms, because there's a whole new differential mount, I guess you'd call it, that goes in with that comes with the LCG chassis.
Yeah, when we bought the body, it also came with extra pieces to upgrade this. What I thought about while we were making this is that, hey, if we can get our own body, our own wheels, and our own control arm, couldn't we get like all the pieces? So I thought that maybe we should go out for a shopping spree and buy all the pieces we would need to make our own custom car.
Shopping spree?
Like, yeah, 100%.
With whose money?
With our money.
Oh, okay. So there, the bottom part comes off, the bottom differential housing, which also holds the control arms. Here we're taking out the servo, I don't know what you call them, the servo posts that the 2 arms rotate on. What I'm doing here is cutting them off because I couldn't get the bearings off the top part, so I cut those plastic posts off, put a little WD-40 on it, and then I got the bearings off, the lower bearings for that. Here's the new assembly. Hit it with some WD-40 just so the bearings slide on easier. I'm taking a paper towel, and I know normally on a build, people like to take apart the whole differential housing and clean everything up, but this is just an LCG conversion, and that's our main goal, is to swap everything over. So I didn't take it apart, but I did clean it up a little bit. Here I'm putting some new white lithium grease on the differential to keep it nice and lubed. And then here, I didn't show in the video, but I believe what I did is I used the wrong screw on that middle screw hole.
Yeah, so luckily we saved you guys from seeing the torture of us having to repeatedly take apart the
differential housing. That middle screw, but it was too long, and it actually was touching on the inside of the differential. I don't know what you call it again. The pinion gear, whatever the gear on the inside, was binding it up. So make sure you use the right size screw for that middle one. It doesn't push through too far up into the actual differential housing.
So
now the control arms are going back on. The pins in. Iron Chicken Man here has a good video on his channel of how to change the control arms, the front control arms on the Slash if you're interested in that. The front anodized plate holds the pins for the control arm in. Obviously, the hardest part of the build is apparently that front plate. Here's the rear section. The rear differential housing lower skid plate attaches the rear control arms too. The LCG kit comes with a new one, so that way the drop to the LCG, because the chassis is about an inch or so lower, it has more of a rake on it, so it'll meet up with the chassis easier. 4 bolts. That one's stripped out, as you can see. I had to use pliers to get it the rest of the way out. That goes back to what Iron Chicken Man here was saying about all the dirt and crud that was stuck in the bottom section. Rear bumper comes off. There you go. Now the pins for the control arms. Pull those out. Breaks away, and again, same thing as before. We're just going to clean the differential out, the old grease as best we could. Add some new white lithium grease. Keep things spinning nice and smoothly. And here's the new lower mount plate. Again, if you're using a power screwdriver, make sure it's if it doesn't have a setting to keep the torque down, make sure you don't over tighten it. It's just plastic, it'll pull right out. Putting the control arms back on, new pins, same pins. Apparently this anodized plate's a lot easier than the front one for me. Section's ready to go.
So we're gonna reattach the bumper.
Reinstall the front bumper, piece of cake, bolts back in, the nuts back in. We didn't label, obviously you can see by the bench there, we just took the nuts out and left them off to the side and kind of figured out what, except for that one we had an issue with. It's pretty straightforward, which screws go back where. Install that front plate. Reinstall the bumper. 3 screws at the bottom there.
1 screw.
Alright, and here obviously we haven't installed the rear assembly, but it's installed here. It's because I installed it on a video that I deleted and forgot to install a bearing, which I'm about to show you right now. Finished installing the front, just a couple screws there and a couple screws on the bottom, and the front's done. Now the rear, here's the bearing. That bearing there I'm taking out. I didn't install it. I had to take it all apart and add it to the new carrier there. Sticks in there, push a little pressure, and that fits in that bearing. You're good to go. Now we install the back section. That bolts on with 2 screws. Actually 4 screws, 2 on the bottom and then 2 up on the top there. And then the rear assembly is pretty straightforward. Got the 2 bolts on the bottom. I believe the 2 bolts on the top screws. Go back in. The drive shaft is not installed yet. I would install the drive shaft while you're installing the rear section to make it easier, but there's 2 pin set screws on the drive shaft, which makes it easier to install. Here now we're installing the motor. I use Loctite on metal to metal for the screws, so I use some Loctite. Here I'm setting the gear mesh. Use a piece of paper on it to get the right amount of clearance on the gears.
And also used as a typewriter.
And if there's a typewriter inside your RC, I guess you could use that too. And these little, here's the gear cover, held on by 1 screw on top, and then that other little clip which I couldn't figure out where it went. There's another little clip that holds the 3 wires coming right here, coming out of the motor. Just keeps them out of the way. Also, when you install your motor, make sure the wires are on towards the outside of the car. When I did it the first time, they were on the inside of the car, and where they fed out, and it was hitting the drive shaft. Again, when you're installing the drive shaft, there's a set screw on both sides for the drive shaft yokes, so you can just take those off and slide them in and get them on.
So now we're moving on to the speed control, simple 2 screws.
Unfortunately, we're stuck with using a hand screwdriver now because somebody lost one of the drill bits. Found later on, but after the build was done. Here's a receiver box. It's held on by double-sided tape. Just get it right, stick it on, piece of cake. Get all the wires through, or plug the wires in. It's make sure you plug them the right way. It's remember 1 to turn, 2 to burn. So 1 goes in steering, 2 is for the motor.
Yeah. Remember to run the wires through the cover before you plug them in.
That's a good point. Now we're installing the servo arm to the servo horn, so it steers. Now the 2 screws. These are for the battery holders. The new LCG, if you have the old style, it's a better setup. It doesn't require body clips to hold it in.
So now
it's the front part, the part that retains the arm, or that snaps the arm in place. 2 screws in the bottom on each side. Easiest part of the install. There's the foam, double-sided tape on one side to stick it on. And like I said, here you go, the battery's in, it just snaps in. Did a little test run with it, make sure it fits, and it fits.
So now we're gonna put in
the Nerf bars.
Well, not yet. Actually, never mind.
Nerf bar time, and here's the antenna.
Nerf time.
Nerf time.
Install that. It's a tiny little screw.
And a little set screw holds the antenna on.
That's it. We did it.
We did it. High fives and handshakes for everybody. It was a good project. It took us a little while to do, but we did it. It was a lot of fun. And now we present to you the Traxxas / 4x4
LCG converted.